Truth, logic, action, power. It's the Gregg Housh Show here on New Revolutionary Radio. From the Leonard School in Malden, Massachusetts, Gregg and company are here to bring a sense of ethics to your news. Whether it's politics, activism, or current events, we always seek to inform and never to deceive. Let's start the show.
Hello and welcome to episode 49 of the Gregg Housh Show. Tonight we talk about internet tough guys, bombers, Trump's council leaving, hopefully giving wonderful evidence after leaving, Sessions is still a liar, and Cambridge Analytica is going to be fun for a long time, it seems. Oh, and Saudi princes own Kushner.
And let's not forget the latest change up in the Trump administration staff.
McMaster is out, 2 of 3 from the suicide pact.
Feel bad for Michael.
I am joined tonight by my wonderful co-host, Kayla.
Yay.
She seems tired right now. And of course, Mac.
Yay.
She doesn't have it tonight, guys. She just woke up from a nap, so give her a bunch of shit online for this one. And of course, our wonderful returning guest with the frozen drink.
It's my favorite.
Anna!
Yay,
I'm your favorite.
So you had energy for Anna, but not for Mac this time. I see.
Because she's my favorite.
Because she's your favorite. All right. So, again, McMaster just announced resignation, all over the place.
Well, did he resign or was he fired? Because I feel like there's two different
Donald
stories.
Trump's tweet on the subject says resigned, but a lot of people are reading between the lines and thinking it might have been fired.
Yeah, this is one of those allowed to resign moments, I believe.
Now, the interesting thing here is that one part of this clearly was McMaster's idea, because he's not simply resigning as the, national security advisor. He is actually retiring from active military service.
Yeah, he's just gone.
Which means that he wanted the ability to not be subject to the commander-in-chief anymore. Because that's why you do that.
Yes.
Well, is he going to lose his benefits?
No, he's retiring.
Because that seems to be a thing now, too. You can just lose them.
He hasn't gotten fired, so, officially.
Well,
officially.
It's not being reported as such. We don't know what the paperwork says.
Well, the paperwork does say that he's getting replaced by good old war criminal John Bolton.
Yes, a real piece of shit.
Again, I still feel bad for Michael.
Right?
I remember that name, but I don't remember why. Can you refresh me on it?
So John Bolton
is not Michael Bolton, the fabulous pop singer.
He's actually worse.
Surprisingly.
I know. If you think a mullet could get any worse, yes, it could.
John Bolton was one of the big cheerleaders for the Iraq War, pushed a lot of the outright lies about weapons of mass destruction.
Still thinks it's a great idea.
Yeah, still a big proponent of it. He's also the former...
After ISIS and everything, still thinks it's a good idea. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, even Bill Kristol changed his mind and thinks it was a terrible idea. And he helped push us into Iraq. And Bolton is still on board. Still would love to do it again. Again.
He not only is still enthusiastic about the Iraq War, he is a big proponent of following up on that with Iran and North Korea.
Yeah. He definitely wants to invade North Korea.
He wants to invade
So let's
both.
give him more power.
Yeah,
let's
clearly,
do that.
He should be the new national
with
security.
Trump possibly talking to Kim Jong-un, it could be a really interesting signal bringing Bolton onto the team right before. Just so you know.
I'm going to be walking out of this meeting and into a room with someone that's going to tell me push the fucking button.
Yeah, so, that's,
So making North Korea look really sane and rational, actually.
Yeah, right? He is doing wonders to rehabilitate North Korea's image in the global community.
Because I honestly think the theory was his sister came back from the Olympics and sat down with Kim Jong-un and was like, yo, Mike Pence is fucking crazy.
She went back to report, no, they're not just faking it.
Yeah, no, they're fucking crazy. I know how we ham it up time and time again. They ain't. No. They he really thinks he's talking to Jesus.
Yeah, obviously, our family, we understand that this is just what you do so you don't get murdered. Yeah. They do this because they're true believers.
Yeah, and
subtle difference.
And Kim Jong-un was like, oh, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Keep that away from me.
I've only wanted to pretend to blow the world up, not actually blow the world up.
Kind of regretting suggesting this meeting.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump and Joe Biden are playing internet tough guy at this point.
This is such a weird story.
To be fair, Trump is playing internet tough guy because this is like, what, the third time that he's suggested that he would win in a fight just recently?
Yeah, I mean, Joe Biden's original statement in context wasn't incredibly internet tough guy-y, but it definitely had those shades. He definitely kind of suggested that, under the right context, he would have, gone and taken Donald Trump behind the gym and beaten the shit out of him, which there's definitely an element of internet tough guying there.
Well, except he didn't say it on the internet.
Well, I mean,
right, but that's just kind of
the attitude.
No, but like he was at an event that was an
At this point, anything you say is on the internet.
Yeah, this is true. But he was speaking at an event. It was an anti-sexual assault event, and he was talking about his campaign, It's On Us, and like his project, and he kind of like went into like this side tangent of saying like, I can't believe a man who like said on tape that he can just grab a woman and said if like and claimed it was locker room talk, and then he went into if we were still in high school and I heard like he said that I would have taken him out back and I think he said behind the bleachers and beat him up
behind the gym.
Quote, if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. And quote, I've been in a lot of locker rooms in my whole life. I'm a pretty damn good athlete. Any guy that talked that way was usually the fattest, ugliest son of a bitch in the room.
So he was definitely just doing it to just kind of like be hokey and like get laughs from the from the audience. And of course,
but then Trump responds.
But of course, Trump has like a Google alert for his name and is obsessed with hearing like people talk about him. So he now has to make this about challenging Trump and his manhood because Trump is not a man.
Yes.
Yeah, so Trump, of course, responded on Twitter. And good old Trump says, quote, crazy Joe Biden is trying to act like a tough guy. Actually, he is weak, both mentally and physically. And yet he threatens me, for the second time, with physical assault. He doesn't know me, but he would go down fast and hard, crying all the way. Don't threaten people, Joe.
I mean,
I cannot imagine a human alive who wouldn't beat Trump in a fist fight.
Seriously, like
I'm pretty sure there are babies in the NICU right now who could take him.
They could take him in a thumb war. Like
this is a guy that takes like a golf cart to go to like 200 feet.
No, he doesn't believe in exercise.
Literally doesn't believe in it. Yes, he believes the human body is a battery and you use up its energy.
You can't you're not supposed to waste energy. You're supposed to just move as little as possible.
And then everyone knows his eating habits. It's not like he's taking care of himself. The only thing he's got going for him is the fact that he clearly has plenty of cushioning to absorb the impact, but he's also a 71-year-old guy that hasn't exercised in any significant fashion in decades. The first punch probably breaks bones.
I don't even think he can hold his arms up in fists for long enough to take a swing.
I mean, really, the fact that this is even a story for us to be talking about is an embarrassment to the very idea that we pretend to be a civilization.
Well, it's only a story because the media takes any ridiculous tweet and then makes it the day's headline.
No,
he's the president. You take the words he says seriously, even if they're this stupid.
And I mean, honestly, even the original part from the former vice president of the United States making the original statement was bad enough. It wasn't awful, but it was bad enough.
It was Joe Biden, it was
Biden. No, it was predictably Joe Biden.
Yeah, it was definitely Biden being Biden, and
it's still kind of an embarrassment. But the follow-up is what really, really sealed the deal.
It's an embarrassment because for me, it's only an embarrassment because you took an event that was supposed to be about one thing and now it's completely off the rails. And no one even knows what where or why Joe Biden said the words that he did, but they know those particular words. I mean,
it's an embarrassment because a 71-year-old former current president of the United States and a 75-year-old former vice president were arguing about who could win in a fist fight.
Yeah,
that is pretty childish. Embarrassing.
I mean, it's embarrassing when two 25-year-olds argue that.
Yes. These are people 3 times their age.
You know what? Let him fight.
No, at this point, we are already past the point of like, all right, it's too late. A conversation already happened. This is an embarrassment to civilization. So you know what? At this point, I'm like, go for it. Let's put this shit on pay-per-view. We'll just make it happen.
I would love for a reporter to or someone in the press corps to be like, when's the fight between Trump and Biden? He said he can take him. Let's see it. You know, be like, fine, let's do it.
Fake news.
Because then, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders has to adjust this at one point in a press briefing room.
Oh yeah, I just want to see because I fully expect that it's not like they do any preparation for that job. So the question is, how will she react on the spur of the moment when she gets that unexpected question about when the fight is happening? The
unexpected question being the very first question.
Yes. But I mean, just is she gonna be like, yeah, we're doing this evening, 5 p.m. Come out to the Rose Garden. Or is she going to be like, fake news? What direction is she going to go here?
I want to know what facial expression she's going to go with. Is it going to be the typical eye flare with the one nostril snarl? Or is it going to be a double snarl with an eye flare? I want to know how the face is going to react before she says the whatever scripted words are in front of her.
We will wait and see.
I have no idea if it already happened.
I'm sure we're going to get a nice painting about it from,
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey there. It'll be glorious.
That was a surprisingly good painting.
Yes.
Did he paint it?
Supposedly.
Yeah, he's been painting for a little while now. He's got all kinds of art online. You can see all the stuff that he paints. But, John Dowd, Trump's attorney, his personal counsel in the Mueller investigation, attempting to, shield him from any major problematic things there, has quit and has been thinking about quitting
John
for a while.
Doubts he's innocent. Ha ha ha.
Well, he's basically quit because Trump wasn't taking his advice, is what we're being told.
Which, sounds exactly like what you'd expect to be the case.
Yeah.
I think that's been the standard for Trump his entire life.
It literally is what his lawyers have said in every past case that we have statements from people that represented Donald Trump talking about having represented Donald Trump.
So this is obviously the lawyer who took credit for Trump's tweet about Michael Flynn saying, why he fired him. The
one that people have suggested constituted an admission of obstruction of justice.
Yeah. The lawyer said, no, I did that. No, you didn't.
He's also the one that argued that it's actually impossible for the president to obstruct justice because under the Constitution, he is the chief law enforcement officer and therefore has every right to express his view of any case.
Yeah, it's not how that works.
That's totally how law works. Yeah, that's a completely sound legal argument. Mm-hmm.
Well, he's gone.
It's foolproof.
That's for the best.
Yeah, it's kind of fun because, of course, he's not the first guy to hold this position.
No, he took it over last June.
Yeah, and now, he had that great track record. And now after considering leaving for several months, he's out. And
they're having trouble replacing him at first.
Yeah, they had some fun with that.
This is also personal counsel. This isn't the White House counsel. This is his personal private counsel that he has to hire to protect him because of all of his structure.
And they keep quitting.
But the thing is, it's he's not supposed to have this much of a personal counsel team.
Why does he?
Well, he's not supposed to need it.
Yeah,
he's the
so
president.
It's the fact that they're having trouble replacing him. It's why do we have him in the first place? Oh, because he's a criminal.
Now the impressive part,
lifelong.
Yeah. The impressive part to my mind is the fact that they are incredibly persistently able to or unable to hire even remotely competent people. This time, in order to bring new blood onto the staff, they tried to get someone that was actually qualified. The Solicitor General under George W. Bush and a founding member of the Federalist Society.
Apparently he was talking with or had a consultation with Bill Clinton's impeachment attorney.
Yeah,
supposedly
he didn't want in, but
and neither of those two wanted.
Yeah, because if anyone wants to stay barred, then they're not going to actually represent him.
Right now, meanwhile, he did actually get someone that's new blood for the team. It's Joseph DiGenova, who is he's been around for quite a while. In the 90s, he spent a bunch of time going on Fox News talking about the Clinton impeachment. bunch of stuff like that. He more recently has been going on all of the right-wing media and saying all kinds of things. Back in December, he called the raid of Paul Manafort's home, quote, a disgusting, awful display of raw political power, not law enforcement power, political power, end quote, on Tucker Carlson Tonight. He went on Fox News back in January to call the Mueller investigation, quote, a brazen plot to illegally exonerate Hillary Clinton, and if she didn't win the election, then frame Donald Trump with a falsely created crime. Went on Lou Dobbs saying that Rod Rosenstein had no reason to appoint Mueller in the first place, and that the appointment of the special counsel will go down in history as one of the worst decisions made by a Justice Department official. He said that Christopher Wray was the one spreading rumors that Wray was going to resign and called him childish and immature. He told Sean Hannity that he thought that several high FBI officials are going to end up being charged criminally, and along with some people at the DOJ regarding.
So he's hitting all the prerequisites. No, but he's hitting all the prerequisites. He's got Tucker Carlson. He's got Sean Hannity.
Dobbs.
He's got Lou Dobbs. If he had Fox and Friends, then oh man, he would be lead counsel right now.
Now, it's interesting because DeGenova isn't really what you might call a lone wolf. His legal partner is his wife, who is also a longtime Republican activist, Victoria Toensing, who currently represents former Trump campaign co-chair Sam Clovis, who people may remember from being in the news a couple times, saying some insane things, maybe refusing to talk to the special counsel, then talking to the special counsel like the same day, saying a bunch of embarrassing shit in the public, a few things. She's also has represented in the past real-life James Bond villain Eric Prince. She currently is also the representative of former Trump legal team spokesman Mark Corallo. She was also one of the ones going on Fox News back in the 90s talking about Bill Clinton during the Lewinsky investigation. And she and her husband claimed repeatedly that they were the target of retaliatory investigations by private investigators with links to the White House back then.
Which was never proven.
No, there was no reason to. And I mean, they were such like non-entities and had nothing to do with the case. Like, why would they have been targeted? It didn't even make sense. Anyway, she was also one of the talking heads who went on to defend Scooter Libby illegally revealing the identity of CIA agent Valerie Plame back in the mid-2000s, and actually submitted amicus curiae briefs in defense of the reporters who were subpoenaed and refused to testify about their sources, because testifying about their sources would have revealed that, in fact, it was Scooter Libby telling them all of this classified information that wasn't supposed to be revealed. And in fact, her brief argued that the law couldn't have been broken by revealing Plame's identity because her status wasn't actually covert, which is one of the most incredibly bullshit. Like,
that's not how that works. Like, these people don't understand how any of this works.
I think he's a great hire.
And then also, she is the one that represents William Campbell, the lobbyist who was supposedly a whistleblower, and is the one that told the FBI that Russians had tried to pay off Hillary Clinton to get the Uranium One deal approved. And then she was the one going on Fox News all the fucking time, along with some of the others, to spread the story of the Uranium One deal as a scandal. So she has a nice long history along with her husband, and it's also rumored that she'll be joining along with him. And that seems very likely.
I mean, compared to DeGenova here, Dowd was a genius.
Yeah. I mean, and given that, Dowd was also not merely, the dumbass that took credit for a tweet that may have been incriminating for his client, but he was also one of the guys involved in, the conversation at the DC restaurant right next to the New York Times offices, where he and Ty Cobb were overheard discussing the details. This was one of those people. Like, this is not a legal genius, and yet you compare him to the rest of the Trump legal team, and he comes across like a legal genius.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun to watch. This new person is going to make it far more entertaining, I think, and that's good for us, I guess.
Yeah, there is one interesting thing here. Dowd was apparently one of the ones that was pushing Trump to cooperate with the Mueller investigation, but was
you mean like he was trying to do his job?
Yeah, but he was also trying to do his job, and therefore strenuously opposing any talk of Trump actually, speaking to the special counsel.
Which, as his actual personal counsel, is the correct thing to be saying.
If I were Donald Trump's lawyer, the absolute last thing on earth that I would allow to happen under any circumstances is Donald Trump to be interviewed in any situation where he could be, held criminally liable for not being truthful.
Why? He's so great at depositions.
Yes.
Like, definitely tells the truth all the time, no matter what.
He's got the best brain.
Yes.
So we get to
great.
watch as this new attorney messes everything up even more. That's going to be fun.
I can't wait for the trial, and the Trump legal team actually files a motion to request Judge Gene Pereiro to be the judge, because all he does is get his people off of Fox News.
Yeah.
He just watches Fox News all day and goes, I like that guy.
I mean, I frankly kind of just assume it'll be like Judge Judy they request.
Right.
Like,
he loves
He
Gene.
does not want Judge Judy.
yeah.
She would rip him a new one.
Yeah, he loves Gene, whatever the...
I don't think he has that level of self-awareness to recognize that, though. He would just be like,
don't
this
know,
is going to be the best ratings.
She's an older woman. Like,
She's still alive?
Yeah.
Judge Judy, really?
So Jeff Sessions is still a liar.
Yeah.
Speaking of lying attorneys.
I mean, we got a nice one on this. It turns out that 3 witnesses who were at the Trump campaign meeting where George Papadopoulos brought up the idea of putting Trump and Putin together to talk. The one where Jeff Sessions insists vehemently that he was, absolutely against it and said, never even bring that up again and all this stuff like that. And, we also heard many months ago now, seems like it was years ago, honestly, J.D. Gordon, the former Trump staffer, also assert that Jeff Sessions had vehemently insisted that, you don't do this stuff. Well,
But we have 3 witnesses now.
Who were all at that meeting and have all told the special counsel that Jeff Sessions didn't do any such thing.
Well, he said it in his little brain. He thought he said it loud enough for him to hear, but gosh, sometimes my elf voice doesn't get that loud. You know how it is.
Wow. Yeah. So again, just Sessions still sitting there lying.
So what is
pretty
this
much every
perjury
time he
number?
talks.
4 or 5?
4 or 5, somewhere around there. I mean, I will say that as Dejan and everyone else says that someone is going down, and high-ranking people are probably going to jail for crime. I hope he's talking about Sessions. That's what I mean.
That I guess the statement would actually be accurate there,
right?
Although we did hear that the Mueller investigation has elected apparently not to pursue charges against Sessions over perjury. That does not mean, of course, that the FBI, who we now know Andrew McCabe, who recently was fired, had approved an investigation into Jeff Sessions over apparently lying to investigators.
They might still get somewhere.
So the FBI can still do it. And the special counsel, well, the thing we heard sounded awfully specific that it was not perjury. They didn't seem to say anything about any other charges might have been considering.
Yeah, they said this one charge we're not going to hit him with.
We are absolutely not looking at charging Jeff Sessions with perjury.
Yeah, why would we do that when we have all these other charges?
Right.
Also, there's that minor issue that the special counsel is probably sitting there like, all right, well, under the circumstance that we're going to charge Jeff Sessions, he is the person that is literally last on the list. Because, he's kind of part of their strategy for keeping Trump from being able to fire Mueller.
Yeah, I guess those Republicans have started to actually get nervous that Trump is really trying to fire Mueller. And Jeff Flake came out, even though Jeff Flake's a flake himself, but apparently was saying, came out and was saying that he was begging with his other Republican colleagues, being like, don't let him fire Mueller. And you've had even Trey Gowdy is I know these are all people that are resigning, so they can have
now they can speak.
Now they can have one ball out and half a spine. And he was sitting there going, and I guess he said to John Dowd, I'm not sure if he directly.
No, this was in an interview where he was speaking hypothetically to him.
But he said on camera, on a news show that if your client is innocent, well, he's not acting like an innocent person. So it's interesting that actual I know Lindsey Graham has come out and basically said that we will impeach you if you fire him. So it kind of sounds like there might be some weight underneath this possibility of like Trump attempting to fire Mueller, which...
Well, I mean, we know that he tried to like 9 months ago.
Yeah, but like now that there's like more shakeup in the administration, like a lot of people are starting to actually be like, oh shit, he might be making some moves now.
Yeah.
You might be getting rid of the people who wouldn't let him.
Well, he hasn't gotten rid of Don McGahn, and that is the person that we were expressly told was basically practically the person that put the brakes on it the last time.
Yes, but again, we were told that.
Yes.
How much theater are you watching?
I know. I'm actually like it would be fascinating in a morbid like way if he was to fire Mueller, because the Republicans would be forced to impeach.
I think that
if they want,
I'm not sure.
I don't know that I believe that, but I think they like in a just world would.
Oh, in a just world, it's not even a
live in a just world.
But
it would start something. I don't know how it would end.
I think that
bloody revolution.
Possibly.
Yeah. No,
I don't think so.
I think that firing Mueller would be enough to guarantee that the votes to convict existed in the Senate. I don't know that it would get through in the House in the first
you would
place.
have to get Paul Ryan to do something.
Yeah,
and how he is.
First of all, Paul Ryan actually allowing the bill to come to a vote in the first place, I'm not sure about.
He can't even sit up straight long enough to get a bill on the floor because he's so spineless. He just noodles himself right underneath that speaker chair and goes, oh, no bills today.
But also there are a lot of just seriously awful people in the House who I think would just be like, nope.
It's far easier to get elected
Devin
over
Nunes.
there. Like that guy.
Indeed.
But so now for everyone who hasn't, you should really watch Channel 4's wonderful reporting on Cambridge Analytica. There's some gold in there.
All kinds of stuff.
And there's more coming, they tell us.
Yes, so we hear.
So Cambridge Analytica are an analytics and campaign firm.
They're a data collection agency.
Yeah, they also have referred to themselves as electioneering specialists, which I hate that term, but that is what they refer to themselves.
They're architecting a new campaign.
They are good at getting you elected, basically.
That's what they claim. A lot of their past clients aren't entirely sold on that.
But they don't seem to be doing it in ways that you should be happy about.
Okay,
No,
so
really
here is my gripes about this whole quote-unquote scandal. Facebook has been arguing in court to have your data and track your data for years. Going back to 2009, where there was a 2009 complaint filed in federal court in California, where there was a failed class action suit that spelled out the possible Cambridge Analytica scandal. They had the foresight to see what exactly it could mean to have all this data collected by Facebook and with no transparency and no reasoning. Like they didn't spell out, they didn't give any reasoning to why they needed the data. They just said that they were harvesting it because they were allowed to, and other people do. So they have been arguing in court for their right to collect our data and mass collect it and harvest it and have it indefinitely with no real rhyme or reason, just because they can. Since at least 2009, from what I found, they have won several court cases. Up until 2016, I found a court ruling in their favor where the judge ruled there is no a reasonable expectation to privacy while using Facebook in terms of tracking data. And it was explicitly about tracking data of users even after they've logged off of Facebook. That Facebook was allowed to track your web usage even after you were logged out of Facebook and just on the internet. They can do that. So there's a whole idea of Facebook, they did something wrong, but hey, wake the fuck up. If we don't actually start to call out companies and hold them accountable, well, guess what? They're doing things legally right now. They've been winning in court to do this. So the fact that everyone's like, oh, I can't believe they didn't tell us. Yeah, they are allowed to not tell us thanks to our fucking government and capitalism.
Also, anyone...
Late stage capitalism.
Anyone that has ever complained about the government spying on them, well, Facebook was collecting all of that data and just handing it to the government anytime the government asked.
Yeah, they were also selling it.
They are, for all practical purposes, in regards to government spying, a privately operated CIA spying on you on behalf of the government.
And they're also now military contractors because they have now contracted with our government to create facial recognition software, more data and profiling software. Like, they are doing this legally. It's like, yeah, Cambridge Analytica had the foresight to compile an app that they knew was allowed to create an app and use Facebook to collect data because all the rest of the apps were doing that. And then they were using it to their benefit. There was nothing preventing the Dems from doing the same thing, but we're up our own asses to know how to use technology.
The Democrats actually, back in 2012, used the actual procedures that you're supposed to follow to gather data on people from Facebook, and did that for Obama's 2012 campaign. The difference with Cambridge Analytica is that they used a thing where they were telling people it was just a survey, and they weren't telling anyone that they were collecting all their data.
Yeah, no, I get that they're
blatantly misrepresented.
Yeah, no, they definitely did do things in a very shady way. But we should be holding them accountable. But the fact that everyone's like acting so appalled when I'm like, Facebook has been operating openly in the public this way.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned,
and haven't been apologetic, and they've been really public in court about what they wanted, how they are mass producing and harvesting, data collection.
Yeah, and while the specific thing that Cambridge Analytica did that effectively violated the terms of service and was
what the fuck,
scummy as fuck. While that part was bad, the thing that they were in principle allowed to do, the thing that Obama's campaign did in 2012 by actually following the rules, is still shitty. It's still, scraping all of the data to take it. It's still basically private spying on you, collecting all this information on you, and then, building a profile and using that to try to manipulate you. It's still shitty.
Yeah. And guess what? It's legal. 100%
Perfectly
legal. Thanks to regulations for cookies and marketing.
So there's a lot of people leaving Facebook now, and by a lot, I mean almost nobody compared to the numbers of people they actually have. Not a number that in any way hurts them.
Because Facebook doesn't need users to make money. That's why they stopped caring about users, because they make money off of ads, selling ads, and partnering with companies like Cambridge Analytica, who pays them to run an app on their site and their platform. So they don't need us. Because even if you don't have a Facebook account, you will get directed to a Facebook link in a Google search. If you look something up, it will prompt you to a Facebook link, and if the link
tons of pages just have Facebook cookies and whatnot on them anyways, because they load up that their follower accounts or the Facebook share button or things like that.
But even if you do a Google search for something innocuous or and you get a Facebook link, and you click on it, well, now that you've clicked on it and you've been on their site, they can now track the rest of your web browsing history.
Indeed. So, I want to make this very clear because I read a bunch of articles today about the people who were leaving and what platforms they were going to. And there was a surprising number of people leaving Facebook for Instagram. And
great idea, guys.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah, right there. Same company, just so you know.
Yeah. And if you think your WhatsApp messages are encrypted, no.
They are actually.
No, but Facebook can get into them still.
No, they can't.
They've been sued in court for it.
Yeah,
and they're still doing it.
And they didn't. You have to turn on the encryption, and that's the people who didn't. The WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger encryption is actually done by Open Whisper Systems, the same people who did Signal, and Open Whisper Systems actually did the implementation with them to verify it. It is Signal hasn't been broken yet. So that's that. But you have to turn it on. And a lot of people don't.
Yeah, because it's not a default setting.
No, of course not.
No, people
think
you have
to turn it on. But I just want to address, if you're leaving Facebook and going to focus on Instagram, you're an idiot because it's the same company. If you're thinking about going over to WhatsApp instead, same company.
But even if you have it, leaving is not they have your data.
Yeah.
It
doesn't really do anything.
It's like you've already given it to them, and
there are lots of blockers you can use that'll start blocking all of their stuff, but they'll just come up with other ways to do it.
The real
it's too valuable for them to allow that to work.
Yeah, but
they can download the blockers and see how they work and get around them.
But the thing is, leaving and just walking away from a problem is not solving the problem. You can still track people's browsing history and web usage and cookies and and the fact that if you're texting a friend and you're texting about ice cream and all of a sudden you see an ad for ice cream on Twitter, guess why? Because they have all of this stuff is interconnected.
Retargeting is what that's called.
Yeah, so they collect. That's collecting the data for that specific purpose, and ads and marketing have always needed to target focus groups, and they've always had this type of data, but they're doing it at such a mass scale, and it's completely within the legal system, and because no one gives a shit because it's too complicated to give a shit, and it's one of those pesky regulations that we think is harmless because the way the lobbying group markets it, argues it, and it's like, and then we get upset when we find out these big firms are doing what they're legally allowed to do.
Because it turns out the thing that they're legally allowed to do is fucking awful.
Yeah. Shouldn't have been legal in the first place.
Right.
So Cambridge Analytica here are taking advantage of all of that. And of course, they did some dirty, underhanded stuff too. But, the fun revelations that we have from them now are the fact that they will use prostitutes to try and entrap people, that they fully admit to bribing politicians in order to then get them under their sway and blackmail them into doing what they want. They admit to a lot on some pretty horrible live video footage that was taken of them and making the admissions.
Kind of sounds like season 1 or 2 of House of Cards.
Footage,
Indeed.
which they didn't particularly know was being taken, and directly contradicts the things that they've said in public.
So this should be very fun to watch the fallout. So the lead, the CEO of Cambridge Analytica is out now. They've gotten rid of him. That's going to solve the problem.
And also the one, I forget his actual position, if he was vice president or CEO or COO of Facebook. Stamos.
What are the security guys?
Who's
supposed to stop Cambridge Analytica from doing what they were doing?
No, he was the one of the high-ranking Facebook officials who was the only one who was actually for more transparency of Facebook, and now he's out. He's stepping down. And and there's a great reporting on that on New York Times that has also been is in the middle of a conspiracy theory too, because people just don't want to accept the truth.
Right.
His team started off with I think something like over 150 or something like that, and then now it's a team of 3. And it was his team was the one that was pushing for more transparency of Facebook, and he's gone. Gee, shocking. And I don't know if you saw the CNN interview that Zuckerberg did last night.
Zuck actually finally talked publicly.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it was good.
No.
He said words out loud.
Surprisingly.
What's so annoying about anything to do with Facebook is that this story is getting such headlining news, and it's such a bombshell, and yeah, it is a big deal. It is important, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. However, we have been letting Facebook coast for so long, and we've been allowing them to just do whatever they want with no explanation, with no rationale, with no real reasoning behind anything that they do. And all of a sudden, now that it's come out that oh wait, they've been doing all these things behind closed doors. Not really. We've just been ignoring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's this is just one tip of the iceberg of what Facebook is doing. It's Facebook is still actually deleting real articles online and marking them as spam. 2 weeks ago, The Verge wrote an article calling out Facebook when there was a New York Post article talking about, I think it was an article from that Sean King wrote, and it was about just another example of police brutality, and Facebook marked it as spam. So even if you tried to share it, it was immediately blocked, and you were told you cannot, this is a spam account. And then The Verge called him out, and they're like, "Oh, it was an accident."
Yeah, some accident.
Well, okay, if you're claiming that human beings have to manually do all these things, how is it an accident? And why are you having so many accidents? And then
many accidents in your favor.
Yeah, you always say it's an accident, and you always say you're trying to do better. Well, when is the better happening?
Who knows? But, we're going to get a lot more fallout from the Cambridge Analytica stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, not just that. I was talking with some reporters, and there's other things that are about to drop with Facebook that they've been doing that's outside of this. And shit's coming to finally hitting the fan for them. And they're either going to crumble under the pressure, or they're going to fucking stop being a shitbag company.
Or they're going to be in America, which is a capitalist society currently run by Republicans. And so the furor will die out over the next few months, and then they'll go back to doing everything they were doing because the American population won't hold them to account for that long and will forget about it and will become blind to the headlines because they've seen it too many damn times and they want to read something new, which is what is going to happen.
Yeah, it sounds like
You've lived here long enough to know that that's what's going to happen.
I only hold out hope because the investors are starting to pull out right now. So if we can get,
we'll see how that lasts.
I'm hoping enough of them will pull out that it dents their wallet.
No.
Look, you got to hit them in the wallet. It's the only way to make change. So I'm gonna keep going after the wallet.
I just don't believe. I think I'm pessimistic on this one, but I think, given a couple months' time, this will die down and everyone will have forgotten, except for people like us.
We only can do the work and see what happens.
Yep.
You could be right. You're most likely right, but I can't stop
I have
working.
some historical precedents on this one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's called living in America.
Yeah.
I do want to say, we a lot of what we've been talking here has been focusing on the Facebook side of things, but there's a lot of very, shall we say, interesting coincidences about Cambridge Analytica. There's, of course, the fact that it's originally a Mercer-funded operation. There's the part where, back in, we now know from the whistleblower Christopher Wiley that they started testing messages and imagery for a Donald Trump presidential campaign, including slogans like "Build the Wall" and "Drain the Swamp," as early as 2014, which is the same year Russia launched its social media influence campaign targeting the 2016 US elections. And this is literally where Trump got the slogans, "Build the Wall" and "Drain the Swamp." He said this publicly.
Yeah. They played that the rally where he's like, they just gave it. I thought it was so hokey, and people went nuts. And I was like, people aren't that dumb, but they're that dumb.
So we know they got started on this all the way back in 2014. Then by mid-May of 2016, they were talking with the Trump team about doing work for the campaign. Then right after Julian Assange announced an upcoming leak of emails regarding Hillary Clinton in mid-June 2016, the CEO of Cambridge Analytica, Alexander Nix, reached out to Assange to ask if he could get an advanced look at the emails. That's almost within a very close period of June 13th, which is when Cambridge Analytica sent their proposed contract to the Trump campaign. The contract ended up being signed on June 23rd, the day after WikiLeaks started posting DNC emails. Then in August, Nix emailed Rebecca Mercer and some Cambridge Analytica employees saying he had recently reached out to Assange again and offered to help organize the WikiLeaks posted DNC emails. Then, of course, there's the fact that we learned from one of his updated filings last year that Michael Flynn was actually a consultant for SCL Group, the parent company of Cambridge Analytica, during this period, and then left them after the election. And we have no idea what he actually did for them.
Does he even know what he did for him?
Well, I imagine he does, but I don't think he wants to talk about it.
If you invite him on TV, he'll talk about it with his lawyers standing in the back cringing, like, why? Why is he opening his mouth?
Also in this same period, that period of June and July 2016, we know that a now dead Republican operative by the name of Peter Smith, who allegedly committed suicide, was attempting to obtain Clinton State Department emails while claiming to be working on behalf of Michael Flynn, and was expressly told by cybersecurity experts that the DNC hack was probably perpetrated by Russia, and the Kremlin was likely using the documents as part of an influence campaign, and he just didn't seem to care about that at all. So, all in that June-July period, we know that Cambridge Analytica was contacting Julian Assange to try and get these emails. That the guy working for Flynn knew that they were stolen. That Flynn was working for the parent company of this group. There's all of these connections. Oh, and also we also know that various intelligence agencies have passed along reports describing Russian hackers discussing how they could get a hold of Clinton's emails and then transfer them to Michael Flynn via an intermediary.
I wonder who.
Gee, I wonder why Obama told him not to hire him. So weird.
So weird indeed.
There are still a few pieces missing, so clearly we can't conclude that there is any picture here whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah, there's no puzzle.
No.
It's not a puzzle.
No, it's not.
It's a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger. So what? Whatever. I took a meeting with the Russians. Whatever. They didn't sound like they had anything. I asked for things and they didn't give it to me.
Anyone would have taken that meeting.
I mean, seriously, it's a big nothing burger.
So,
I have one thing to say about like the quote unquote whistleblower.
You got banned from Facebook after whistleblowing.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, but at the same time, because Facebook's pissed that he like ruined their parade. I mean, sure, like my whole issue is that he's going on saying like, I feel so bad. I think we actually helped get Trump elected. You were hired to get Trump elected. You're just coming to this realization now.
To be fair, we don't know like exactly what he knew when.
He knew all of it. He built it. Christopher Wiley, he's gone on CNN and said that he built all the data. Like he knew he was helping test the slogans. He had all the documentation and he like backed up all his shit. He had all of his things on servers. That's why Facebook is pissed, because he has all of the documents to and from Facebook. They also created like the bomb emails that deleted your email after you read it.
They used Proton Mail, which does
Now, in his defense, it is possible that he looked at Trump and said, this is such a pile of shit. There's no way the American public actually go for it, so we can safely try all this nonsense knowing that the American public won't actually elect him.
But if he did, he was wrong.
But it's still 2018. So my whole thing is like, what? Like, when did you start talking to journalists and why is it coming out now? Why are you suddenly having regrets in 2018?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But we'll see what comes of that. We've got Anna in the studio here for a very specific reason. This upcoming weekend is very important, especially here in Boston. There's a big march coming. A bunch of students organizing, a bunch of parents helping organizing, and some Nazis showing up as well. It's going to be a blast on Saturday.
Oh boy.
So what's going on?
So the March for Our Lives event is actually a nationwide thing that's happening. There's a big march happening in DC, but there's a lot of local ones, and Boston is having one of the local ones, which is awesome. If folks want to get involved, there's this great article on boston.com that'll give you all the information about the march. It's starting in Roxbury. Greg, I think you actually have the details on your screen over there, and I do not. But the reason I wanted to come in and talk with you guys is because the Boston one might go a little sideways, and it's stressing me out, to be perfectly blunt.
To be fair, last time Nazis tried to protest, we outnumbered them 100-1.
Okay. First off,
we outnumbered them 1,000-1.
Well, that was two ago.
Hey. First off, the last time the Nazis showed up was in November, not in August.
Yeah.
Who goes outside in November? It's too cold.
Yeah, well,
that's why we didn't outnumber them 1,000-1 that time.
50, 60, maybe 75 of them showed up, and there were maybe 2,000 counter protesters that time. So not the same kind of crazy numbers we had in August.
Yeah, because too cold.
Yeah, I understand. But this same group, Resist Marxism, great branding, guys. Seriously.
Really know how to show your knowledge of history.
They showed up at the Women's March in Cambridge to try to cause trouble. Their people tried to get up on the stage. They tried to start fights with the Democratic Socialists. The police there shooed them away. But they are planning on having a Defend the Second Amendment counter-protest to the March for Our Lives event. And there's a lot of rumors running on Facebook, and there's a lot of people, actually, in their groups posting about that they're going to bring guns to an event where there's going to be a whole bunch of children. And
in one of the most strictest gun control states, too, that doesn't support any type of open carry, regardless of whether or not you are legally a firearm owner or not. So great job, guys.
Also, just to throw this out there, for any time, you have people that are talking about resist Marxism and they're doing a pro-Second Amendment thing, remember this quote from Karl Marx. Under no pretext should arms and ammunition be surrendered. Any attempt to disarm the workers must be frustrated by force if necessary. The destruction of the bourgeois Democrats' influence over the workers and the enforcement of conditions which will compromise the rule of bourgeoisie democracy, which is for the moment inevitable, and make it as difficult as possible. These are the main points which the proletariat and therefore the League must keep in mind during and after the approaching uprising.
So are they against guns now if they're resisting Marxism?
Yeah, I would think so, because Marx was one of the most like pro-gun ownership people you could ever find.
Yeah, that's like a really pro-gun argument right there. So like, I'm confused now. What are we doing? How do we resist? How do we support? I don't get it.
It's so cute. You guys think they have a coherent ideology.
I don't think they do. I don't think they even have like the beginnings of a clue of what it is they're even trying to argue.
They wouldn't call themselves resist Marxism and then show up at a child's protest. Like, children don't even know who Marx is.
Yeah, so I don't know how people are going to show up. Obviously the march itself, there's a lot of people interested. There were a lot of students who participated in walkouts across the state. A lot of those kids are going to be trying to show up. Their parents are going to show up. A lot of, teachers and other people who are, interested in the cause. A lot of, traditional anti-gun advocates are going to be there. Who knows what the numbers are? We'll see when the day comes. I think the weather will impact it one way or another. But as far as the opposition, I'm thinking it's safe to say there's probably going to be somewhere from 50 to 100 people, mostly coming down from New Hampshire, because that's what we see around here. And at this point, I'm very confident that at least one of those people is going to show up with a firearm. I've hit that point with what I've seen and what I've heard, that I really think that is the most likely thing. And the Boston police commissioner doesn't give a shit. And I'm really concerned, because I'm planning on showing up with my, children to an event, and I expect the Boston Police Department to give a shit when armed counter protesters are showing up. That's pretty much exactly their job.
It's ridiculous that if nothing else, the Boston Police Commissioner should be like trying to bend over backwards to help these children organize, even if there wasn't any counter protesters planned. Like, these kids are trying to do something great, and they have been coming out in huge numbers, especially like we just saw with the walkout that they did a week or so ago now. Thousands of children, and they're organized and they have a coherent message.
They're doing an amazing job of, forming their political opinions, communicating them clearly, doing so in a way that's very much in keeping with, our First Amendment rights and everything else. They're doing a fantastic job, and they've been born into a time where these are skills they desperately need.
Yeah, so it's like the fact that all the Boston PD departments aren't bending over backwards to be like, what do you need? Are your routes cleared? Do you want just to clear the roads for them to march from Roxbury to the Commons? To me, that is the most baffling part of it, because Boston's been coming out in big numbers on some of these big protests.
Yeah, and I don't know where they are specifically on how well they're dealing with the march route. The thing that I'm concerned about is how they're handling the counter protesters, which right now is shrug, whatever.
Maybe they are hoping that they don't show up.
That's a dumb thing to do. You hope for the best, but you plan for the worst. That's what you do.
Agreed. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. That's not an attitude that a police officer, especially a police commissioner, should be having, especially when it comes to children.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's going to be important for more adults to show up on the side of the children to make sure that nothing goes wrong here.
So the way it looks right now, and I'm speaking on Thursday night, maybe things change on Friday, maybe things change on Saturday, who knows? But the way it looks right now is the March for Our Lives group is planning a march from Roxbury to the Boston Common. And that's where the bulk of the people are expected to be. And if you're planning on participating in the event, that's where the organizers want you to be. They want you to be part of that march. And they're going to meet at the high school there.
Do we have times or anything when the march is supposed to start? Or?
Yeah. So they want you to meet there at 9 to 10, and they're going to do the step off at 11 a.m. They're expecting it to take 2 hours for them to get to the Common, which means they're going to be walking real slow. And then they're going to have speakers at the Common starting, around 1 in the afternoon. The Resist Marxism group is planning on being at the place where they're setting up the stage from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's their current plan, which means from 11 to 1, you are going to have a small group of the the Nazis there, and a small group of the people doing the March for Our Lives group trying to set up their stage.
So their plan was to yell at hardly no one?
Well,
Their plan is probably to
Their
help
plan
disrupt,
is to disrupt things.
Yeah, they probably are trying to
and
be
they're
like
going to disrupt things because everyone's out on the march. So they're going to disrupt people trying to set up the stage, trying to get prepared.
Yeah, so basically, I have this like
So we
vision
need
of
a few people to show up to make sure that they don't.
Yeah, but it's like in my head, I'm like, so your plan is to go to where there's not a lot of people, like probably 15, 20 max setting up a stage because the bulk event is marching, and you're supposed to gonna stand there and yell at the 15, 20 people that are just setting up.
Well, in a
great protest, guys. You're really getting your message across.
In a perfect world, the Boston PD would be taking this seriously. It would separate the counter protesters from the people trying to set up and would have them shoot away from the common by the time the bulk of the actual March for Our Lives group shows up. If Evans was actually doing his fucking job, that would be his plan. But since we don't live in a perfect world, what's probably going to end up happening is, if you're a person who wants to, go punch Nazis, if that's your ideological worldview, then you're probably going to show up at the Common around, 11 noon, and you're going to make sure the people setting up the stage can actually set up the stage by distracting the Nazis. I don't want that to be what happens. I don't want there to be a huge fist fight. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want to be sitting here at night thinking about what happens if I get shot in front of my kid. But Commissioner Evans isn't doing his fucking job, so this is where we are.
I mean, I want to see the kids succeed in this. I really do. It would be heartbreaking if their protest was ruined because, idiots just don't want kids to have a future.
Yep. So anyway, if you're wanting to participate in the march, if you have kids that want to participate in the march, meet up at the high school in Roxbury. We'll make sure that there's a link on the website for the, 9 to 10 a.m. group. Be part of the march, make that happen. If you are, in this for dealing with counter protesters, then that's the time they're going to be there. And if you're planning on showing up to the Common late, but you do not intend to engage in any of the counter protesters, what you really need to do is wait until about 1 p.m. Don't show up at noon. Don't go out for brunch and go, oh, tee-hee, we'll just show up a little bit early, because if anything gets hairy, it's going to be hairy from about 11 to about 1.
And there you have it. Everyone who wants to show up to the march this weekend should. If you want to march, go to the high school in Roxbury. The information's pretty simple to find. We'll send it out too. If you want to be one of the ones that make sure the stage gets up, don't interfere with the people whose job that actually is, but get there and make sure the counter protesters don't interfere either. Be there for about 11.
And we're definitely not encouraging people to do that, but I know some people, that's what you're here for.
Indeed. All right, everyone. That has been episode 49.
Thank you for listening. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Gregg Housh Show and on Instagram at Gregg Housh. If you like what you've heard and want to be a part of it, check out patreon.com/Gregg Housh Show. In exchange for funding our programming, you gain access to exclusive content such as uncut editions of our podcast. We have new episodes every Thursday night. We hope you listen in. The Gregg Housh Show was created by Gregg Housh, executive produced by co-host Eric Gowrays, and co-hosted by Kayla Avery. Other contributors include producer and writer Anna Geoffroy, co-host producer David McGuffin, and writer-engineer Robert Tortora. Theme music for this show was produced and recorded by Geneva de Colbert. Our interns include co-host Casey McLaughlin, writer-engineer Alec Greeny, writer Maddie LoCicero, and associate producer, writer, and announcer William Kennedy. You're listening to New Revolutionary Radio, your call to action.